And now you die. Oh, come on! Hello everybody! Today we'll play through Pokemon Emerald with just one Lilipad. I mean lotad. But first, let's go over the rules. As usual, I can only use lotad in combat, I can't use the move double team, I can't use items in combat, and of course, no glitches or cheats. Lotad is a cute Pokemon, but unfortunately it's not that great. Its move pool is pretty good, but the stats are lackluster, and for whatever reason, it doesn't learn a water type move from level up, except for Rain Dance. So we'll have to wait all the way until Surf before we can get a damaging water move. But at least it's a very good move. I reset a few times to reroll for a good nature. I don't count those because it's purely RNG, there is no skill involved, and technically you could restart the full run. Lotad only starts with Astonish and Growl, so I can't damage the Zigzagoon, and we are forced to wait until we get low and it runs away. I'm not sure if you could lose this fight if he gets a crit at the right time or if the game sets your HP to 1. I had to spend some time leveling for May, otherwise with a weak non-stab move I would have no chance. At almost double her level, the fight is still close. Let's hope that the Team Aqua Grant is easier. Against his Poochyena, I can use Absorb since it is not resisted, so this fight is quite a bit easier. Just outside the forest, there is a dude that gives you Bullet Seed. I forgot to record getting it and teaching it Lotad. That, plus a few more levels, should make Roxanne easy. At this point, Bullet Seed is good, since even if it only hits 2 times, it's the same damage as Absorb. The Geodudes don't stand a chance, but the Nosepass takes it pretty well. But that doesn't mean that I can't take it out in a couple more seeds. First badge acquired without any issues. Up next is the side quest to rescue Pico from the, I think, same Team Aqua Grant as earlier. This time he goes for Sand Attack since he can defeat me fair and square, but it does not go his way, so we can return the Seagull to Mr. Briny and proceed to face optional May. Thank God she does not have Torkoal, otherwise this would be a nightmare. Wingull is still tough because she outspeeds me. She confuses me and does good damage with Wing Attack when she uses it. To be honest, I probably should have used Nature Power for it, but whatever. I use it against the Trico, and as you can see, it's not as strong as I hoped. It takes way too many turns to fell the green Gecko. Since Lotad performance against May was not the best, I decided to skip Brawly for the moment and go straight to Slateport. Here, as usual, we have to deliver the parts and fend off against the Team Aqua Grants who want to steal them. These guys are not as bad, probably because their Pokemon are very squishy, so it doesn't take as long to defeat them. Once I dealt with the situation, I can spend some more time in Slateport, defeating the trainers in the area to gain a few levels. Once I ran out of fights, I went back to face Brawly. At this point, I'm quite over-leveled, but I still end up losing once to the Mahuhita. The rest of the team is not that bad, especially because the Meditite only wants to use Focus Punch and you can interrupt it every time. The battle still takes a while because of my low damage and the potions that Brawly keeps using. Mahuhita, as you can see, deals a lot of damage with Vital Throw, but this time I don't get to hit the Bullet Seed all the time, so we can defeat it before I run out of HP. So after we obtain his badge, we have to make our way back to Slateport, where May is waiting to destroy us. Maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration. Wingull can still be a problem since it's so fast, but in this attempt it goes down easily. Next, she sends out the Slagma, and instead of using Ember, it yawns me. I tried to waste time so that I would not be asleep against the Grubile, but because of a misclick, it yawns me again. So now her ace can attack me for a few turns, and he hurts a lot. I finally wake up, and while it looks grim, by some miracle I live on 1 HP and can win the fight. Next up is Wallace, and I'm quite scared. So after defeating every trainer and selling everything in my name, I can buy the Ice Beam TM and hope for a freeze. It took 5 attempts before I could get one. That's double the average, so I can't complain. Surprisingly, the Voltorb leaves a hit, but at least he does not paralyze me. The Magneton is the main problem. All my moves are resisted, so I can take it out easily. Somehow I dodge the potion threshold and can take it out with no problems. I don't even get paralyzed. And if that was not lucky enough, I survive against the Manectric with 2 HP. Once again, it wasn't even close. Anyway, with what I thought would be the hardest fight at the time, I can proceed with the main story. I should have thought lotad secret power over nature power for some more consistency, but I forgot. So we have to stop Maxi now. Since we are a special attacker, all of the mighty hyenas with Intimidate should be easy for us. At the moment, Ice Beam is my strongest move, so I have to spam that during this fight. Unfortunately, it's not a one-shot, so he uses Sand Attack, and because of it, we miss Zubat and he confuses us. Great. A couple misses later, we can take it out. For the Camerupt, I would like to use Ice Beam, but I ran out of PP, so I switched between Mega Drain and the Nature Power, and eventually it goes down too. It was not as easy as I expected. I suppose that the medium slow XP growth is starting to screw me over. After the situation is defused, we gotta go to Flannery's gym, and here is where having no water move is a problem. The next best option is once again Ice Beam. I use Nature Power on Slagma, but it's not enough and it sets up Sun. That's not great, but I have a trick up my sleeve. Against the Camerupt, I try something different. I intentionally don't kill it, so that Flannery can waste a potion or two on it. This way, Torkoal should be a bit easier. I spend a couple more turns Mega Draining him as she uses more potions. Eventually, she stops healing it, so we can move on to the Torkoal. Overheat in the sun will most likely two-shot us, but if I use Rain Dance, the damage is much lower. The second turn, he resets the sun, while I hope for a freeze. So now I have to use Rain Dance again to stop the next overheat. Seeing the damage one hit in the sun would have been enough to sink lotad. I then get a freeze, but I'm not sure it was needed. Also, our ability Rain Dish slowly heals us in the rain, so we should be safer too. After a few more ice beams, the tortoise dies. 4 badges down, 4 more to go. We're halfway there. For the next badge, we have to defeat our dead Norman. This fight too turned out to be harder than expected. The main problem is that their damage adds up, and then the slacking can finish me off. The Linon in particular is the worst offender, but this time he helps me by halving his HP. Icebeam has to carry me for the last time. A freeze would be very good, but it's not very reliable. I also get yawned again, but thankfully he does not take me out while I sleep. He hits me once, and here I decided to Mega Drain to leave another hit, but I get a crit to finish the fight. After our dad gives us the badge for the gym, Wally's uncle gives us the HM for surf, so we finally have a water move. We can now free the scientists in the Weather Institute and immediately after fight May for the last forced fight. Slugma this time gets flooded by surf. I can use one ice beam to take care of the Grovile. The Lombre takes a bit longer because of flinching and non-super effective moves, but he soon goes down too. With May defeated for the penultimate time, it's time for us to take on the 6th gym. Winona's flying types could be a problem since they are super effective, but we can also be a threat with Ice Beam. Against the Pelipper I used Rain Dance to heal a bit, since I know she will use Protect. She leaves a hit and crits me back for a lot of damage. After some stalling, that to be honest is good for me, I can take it out. Next is Carmory, and with a Surf in the Rain, it's a one-shot. The remaining Tropius and then Altaria are an easy one-shot with Ice Beam too. And with that, another badge is in our pocket. With her defeated, we can proceed with the main plotline of the game by climbing Mount Fire and obtaining the Magma Emblem to sneak into Groudon's lair. But first, we get Giga Drain from this girl to complete our moveset. I have a question. How did Team Magma get in here before me? The wall only opens when I approach it with the Magma Emblem. Maybe the orbs have the same effect? Anyhow, Max's team is not that bad, except for the super fast Crobat. Thankfully, it only confuses me, so I can quickly finish the rest of his team. Once Maxi is defeated, we can leave the cave and fly to Lily Cove. Here we can fight May in front of them all for the last time in this playthrough. Ice Beam is the star of the show. Half of her team is weak to it, and the other half, if they leave, can't do much to me. Grovile is still faster than me, but it does not help her. Once her last Pokemon gets KO'd, we can say goodbye to her and start grinding, because the next fight is against Tate and Liza. This fight was so frustrating, but not for me. Well, mostly not for me. It turns out that they are a bit more tanky than I thought, so the Claydol leaves a hit. The Exado sets up, so I have to remove it as soon as possible. Meanwhile, they set up Sun too, so now Surf is pretty much useless. But we have another great move in our arsenal. All 3 remaining mons are weak to grass, so I can spam Giga Drain, and it not only does good damage, but also heals us for a bunch of HP. So now they know how it feels to play against Diego in League of Legends. Yeah, I'm ashamed to admit that I played that game too. In a couple more trains, the Claydol finally goes down. He has been here since the start of the match. With the twins defeated and their badge in our hands, we have to go take care of Team Magma one more time. The double fight with Steven is not as bad as I expected, even if I don't take it very seriously. I use some serfs that can take out the cover-ups because of the 4-time weakness, but not the Mycena, and then they confuse us both. So yeah, we are not in the best of situations, especially because we hit ourselves for a while. But we also quickly snap out of it and can back to taking names. Metang is also on the offensive and helps me finish off the low HP Pokémons. I can use Ice Beam to one-shot the Crobat, so there is only the last Mycena left. Metang hits itself in confusion, but I can finish the fight with one last Ice Beam. After Maxi gets wrecked again, he runs away from the building. Soon after that, we can make our way to Kyogre. Here we have to fight Archie as usual, and his team is not that great. The Crobat of course outspeeds me and deals some damage, but it doesn't really matter. The Sharpedo also outspeeds and confuses me, but I don't hit myself 4 times in a row, so I can Giga Drain him to death. Once Archie is defeated, the red orb in his possession becomes sentient and activates itself, waking up the Kyogre. So here we go again, saving the world. I'm sure Lotad would prefer permanent rain though, with both of his abilities requiring it. Anyway, we can do the usual stuff with the usual people to wake up Rayquaza, so he puts an end to the end of the world. Once the situation is fixed, though, we have to take on the last gym leader of the region. So, Juan shouldn't be that bad. We have Stab Giga Drain to deal with most of his team. Ludwig still outspeeds me, but thankfully I don't get infatuated and can defeat it. The only variable is Kingdra, but hopefully it will not troll us too bad. For her, I should have used Ice Beam since it does more damage, but I decided to use 2 Giga Drains, whatever. The Crodant of course does not live, and with that we collected all 8 of the badges. So now it's time to make our way through the Victory Road, where we are stopped by Wally. Since we don't have any boosting moves, we have to go on the offensive immediately. The first 2 Mons are weak to Ice Beam, so that's that, and for the rest of the team I can use Surf. While it's not super effective, it's stab, so it does a lot of damage. Gardevoir survives one hit, but can't one-shot me back. Wally uses a potion on it and then double teams, but I can get through. Since I did not want a repeat of Source Kit, I leveled to 100 before the league. This way it should be doable. The first member is Sidney, and his Pokémon are not tanky enough to survive my moves. The only problem could be if they outspeed me and then RNG me, but hopefully at 100 I'm faster than them. So after a few more turns, we can defeat him and proceed with the rest of the league. The second Elite Four member is Pheobe. I don't have any super effective moves, but it shouldn't be a problem. I know that her lead Dusclops loves to protect, so I use Rain Dance, just because I would waste PPs otherwise. Next, I can sweep her team with Surf. In the rain it does extra damage, but I'm sure it's not needed. Unfortunately, the rain stops at her last Pokémon, where I would need it the most, but he's still a one-shot. Up next is Glacia. She should be easy too. I could use Rain Dance to override the hail, but I don't think it's needed. I can restore my HP with Giga Drain and use Surf for the Glaciers. It's not like she even gets the chance to set up hail in the first place. The only things that could leave are the second Glalie and the Thick Walrus, but both of them are a one-shot. So easy win. Time for the last and the hardest member of the Elite Four. While it's true that I have Ice Beam to deal lots of damage, I still expect to run into some issues. Shelgon is easy, Altaria is more or less the same, but against the Kingdra, one hit is not enough. It sets up and body slams me. I had the berry just in case, but it was not needed. Flygon does some more damage, so I reach his ace with around half HP. Dragonclaw is not enough to take me out, so I can finish the fight and defeat the last obstacle before the champion. Wallace is actually the cause of one last reset. I got crit by Sledge Bomb and my HP evaporated away. I also equipped a Pecha Berry, so that if Tentacruel goes for Toxic, I'm ready. Instead, like in the first match, he prefers straight damage. A crit gets him in potion range, and then he uses Toxic, but the berry saves me. And then he gets his vengeance by critting me again. I survive with a sliver of HP. Next, he sends out Milotic. I can recover more HP with Giga Drain than he can deal with Ice Beam, so once he dies, I'm somewhat healthy. Next up is Ludicolo, and since I only have 1 PP for Giga Drain, I decided to use Ice Beam against him and save that PP for Whiscash. Since he is 4 times weak to it, he explodes, and I'm almost at full HP. I was worried that Gyarados would Dragon Dance into a Hyper Beam one-shot, but instead he uses Earthquake, okay. Well, the league was easy, I guess I could have leveled a bit less. Thank you for watching, remember to do the usual YouTube stuff like subscribing, ring the bell, thumbs up button and leave a comment. All feedback is welcome. See you next week. Bye!